Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, today, something rather interesting. Now, potentially a slightly controversial subject in the actual the subject of the model. We're going to do a quick review of the Minibase SU-27K C flanker. Now, we'll get this out of the way straight at the beginning. I've been avoiding reviewing kits like this because of the country that operates them. But I thought this was a particularly interesting one. It actually belongs to a good friend of the channel, Stuart, so he's very kindly loaned this to me. Because this model from Minibase are in China is quite an interesting one and has a certain notoriety. And it's notorious for one thing in particular, and that is it has a very high parts count. Somebody told me that it had over 650 parts, but I learned now that Stuart has sent me this kit to review. It's much worse than that. It does in fact have a parts count of 771 parts for a 48 scale jet fighter, you know. Now, this aircraft also got redesignated. It's now it was later known as the SU-33. They sort of redesignated it a bit like they did with was it the Fitter? Some of their other aircraft. They sometimes rebrand them for whatever reason, but we won't get into too much of that. But what you do need to know is that this is the marine version of the flanker, intended for, to all intents and purposes, really just to operate off the aircraft carrier that the Russians have, the Admiral Kuznetsov, which is this carrier that's been seen off the coast of Britain a number of times, steaming through the English Channel, belching smoke, clearly not in the greatest of condition. This is before the real problem started. It was obviously known to be, it's a diesel-powered carrier, and it has had many problems, this carrier. It's got a very poor history in terms of reliability. There was a fire. It's operated. I mentioned it was going through the Channel. It was heading for Syria to operate in Syria. That was around 2017, I think it was. 2016, 2017, and it has had a load of problems. It had a fire. Then there was a secondary accident when it was in dry dock, where the dry dock sank. And then there was another accident when the crane that was working on it collapsed and smashed into the deck, leaving a huge hole in the deck, massive gaping hole, people missing, and all sorts of unusual efficiency that country seems to, and competence that we see from that country, obviously. But finally, there was another fire, which was not such a big one, but then when the repair work was carried out, and the sort of second or third fire it suffered in, these are all in dry dock incidents, and they discovered that there was rot, and the carrier itself was severe corrosion and rust below the waterline in a way that makes many people think that despite the fact it's in the middle of a refit, it's probably never going to be seen again. But anyway, we won't worry about that. Let's get into this kit though, because I say Stuart has sent it to us. Slightly controversial subject perhaps, something I've been avoiding, but I do like the look of the model. From what I've heard, it's actually quite a decent model and definitely worth investigating. So let's have a look at what we got then. So this is, I've got to tell you, so really you can tell there's a lot of parts in it. This weighs about 1.5 kilos. It's maybe 2 kilos. It's really quite heavy. There's clearly a lot of plastic. There's not much rattle. And it says on the front, it's number 2 of their 148 scale aviation series. I don't know what number 1 was. Highly detailed display static model. Choose between open and closed canopies, extended or retracting refueling probe. Retracted or open. Characteristics of the SU-27K, and it does actually say SU-33 in brackets. I'm glad we cleared that up. It could have said that here, but anyway. It's got engine nozzles, vertical stabilizers, stiffener plates, air brake, cockpit and landing gear because it has a arrestor hook, I'm sure. All designed into the details. Completed folding wing mechanism is accurately reproduced. Leading edge flaps and the double slot trailing edge flaps have also been accurately rendered. Based on extensive research of the actual pylons and missiles, There's a whole load of weapons options, so let's get into it. So on the side, I'll zoom you in. So I say this is made in China. It's not made in the country that uses the aircraft. I'm glad to say, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah, you've got quite a range of these weapons, one or two which we've heard about. Now, of course, Ukraine uses the SU-27, but not this variant because they haven't got any aircraft carrier. Not that the Russians have now, by the look of it. And it says here, this was basically designed for the Soviet Navy for conventional aircraft carriers during the Cold War. Sukhoi decided to implement a plan of the naval version to develop the T-10 fighters. Since 1978, large-scale ground and flight tests have been carried out. The Soviet Union's first heavy carrier-based fighter aircraft tended to be mature and practical. After the 90s, the T-10K has repeatedly demonstrated its belly-mounted Moskit missiles at Max, it's the air show, with its powerful destructive ability. However, Max is the Soviet Moscow air show. Officially named the SU-27K when mass production started. Later the Russian Navy inherited the legacy of the Soviet Navy and the model was changed to SU-33 to differentiate it from the previous one. Right, okay. Well, Minibase here is actually supplied by a company in the Czech Republic, it looks like here. But they're made in China. I say it's a huge kit. Gives you Mr. Colour options on the side. Two, unfortunately, both Russian, so we'll cover that up. Options. But let's have a look at the kit. So, yeah, I think that it's one that, as I say, if this was manufactured in that country, I wouldn't be reviewing it. But as it is a Chinese kit, and it has this reputation for being very detailed and quite interesting. And by the way, we have an options set of resin parts. I'll come to in a minute. It comes in. It's got this rather nice artwork, which is very nicely done. I've got to say, quite like that. And then it sort of unfolds. Again, you've got a lot of artwork there, which we won't dwell on. Let's look at the plastic. Oh, my lord, this looks very impressive. I've got to say. Now this could take time. My goodness, I've got some interesting ways of doing things as well. It's very like Great Wall Hobby, I'd say. This is my first ever Minibase kit. I've never seen one before. We've got missiles here. Gosh. Oh, I hope I'm going to get all this back in the box, Stuart. He's given us permission to open all the bags. Look at this, different missiles and things. To open all the bags. So we will be doing that. Or are they resealable bags? Oh, they're resealable bags. All good. That makes things a bit easier. And it saves causing too many problems. So let's just move this over there. So I can see it's taken over already. And we haven't even got half of it out yet. Quite a lot of plastic parts there are. So maybe the thing to do is if I literally use this to start and then transfer them across one by one. Let's see if we can get the instructions out, and we'll start with that. Because this is going to be a big one, because this has got a lot of parts. Oh my goodness. Excuse me. Many parts. And the instruction book is heavy. It's massive. That's heavy. That's where some of the weight is. Good lord. This is going to be intriguing, isn't it? Right, okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that over there. I think this is going to be quite a nice kit. But I'll tell you one thing, it isn't. It's not a weekend build. No chance. Right. So, I'll try and flick through it fairly quickly. I think we could get bogged down a bit here for weeks, quite frankly. So let's zoom you in. So, Minibase, China. And they have got colour guide for Mr. Colour only, which is a bit disappointing, but anyway, that's what a lot of them do. It looks like we have a pilot figure. And yes, we do have a pilot figure. That's good then. Something we don't expect. Now, I've got to be honest, it's not that easy on the eye. It's not the most bold instructions you've ever seen. But it starts off building up your ejection seat, which is quite detailed, and I think that's going to be the theme of the entire kit. Quite detailed, I think, will be something of an understatement on this model. So you're building up, I'm going to flash through this because there's so many parts and I don't even know what half of them are. But you're building up your ejection seat, you've got your ejector rails at the back, you've got your headrest here. There's a colour photo which I do like there of the actual pilot, which is quite cool, isn't it? Yeah, that's quite good. And then we've got our, I can see I'm struggling here for space. There's such a huge amount of box plastic, it's crazy. So yeah, we're a bit, I don't know how well this is coming out on the camera, but it doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit faint looking, because it's not the boldest print I've ever seen. A little bit Edward-like in that respect, I'd say. And then you're building up the, so you start with the seat, and then you're building up the second seat. It's a two-seater, is it? No, it's not. It's not a two-seater, so why are we... Oh, okay. Okay, so... I'm finding it a little difficult to follow. I don't know if I'm being a bit thick here or something. You build up your seat, and then it shows the pilot sitting in it, and then it shows you putting in your seat cushions. I think the idea is if you're going to put the pilot in, you don't put the seat cushions in, which is kind of weird. A bit odd, isn't it? Anyway, we'll move on. There's a lot of detail, and it is mind-blowing already. I mean, we've got 2 pages of A4 here just to build the seat for the pilot and the headrest. But it does seem to go back and forth on itself a little bit. I've got a feeling that I wouldn't particularly get on with this kit. I'm hoping that that's not... Well, again, this very faint printing is not helping us here. So it's showing you the seat belts. There's a lot of belts and the harness straps that have got to go in there. Geez, I mean, you can spend a couple of weeks on the seat only, I think. Then you're coming over here, you're going to start on your instrumentation in the cockpit. Lots of fine detail on the stick. Yeah, it's enough to give you a headache, isn't it? I can see why it's got 771 parts. Oh, interestingly here, the print seems a bit more bold, a bit clearer somehow. That's a bit of an improvement, I'd say. Strange inconsistency there. Anyway, I'm not complaining. It seems to be getting better, which is the important thing. So then you've got. It does tell you. It's quite helpful, I suppose. That something I've said to ICM, isn't it? It does tell you as a heading what you're actually building. The nose gear, nose landing gear bay. You're building up your gear leg, and again, look at the gear leg. I mean, it's got how many parts just for the nose gear leg? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my lord! There's all these PE parts. There must be 40 parts just on the nose gear leg there. 40 parts? Is that right? There's got to be mid-late 30s anyway. That's probably as many parts as you get in a Matchbox kit in total. Oh God. Anyway, we'll zoom you back in. We shouldn't necessarily complain. It's not a cheap kit, this though. It's about £150. So yes, you'd expect a lot of value, wouldn't you? Lots of PE parts going in here. All the support legs for the actuators for the nose leg. Everything is a separate part. So the scissor action of the extender on the nose leg is there. Lots of little PE parts. I mean, this is just crazy. I mean, look at it. Look at the number of parts here just on one side of it. Oh Lord. I mean, this is enough to give you a headache. This is going to be a bill that will take me a year. Certainly take me probably 2 years. Finally, you're getting your hubs on, and then you've got your wheels and tyres, wheel hubs and tyres, and they are actually going in two pieces, inner and outer. And it shows you here what it should look like. But look at all that work. So you've got 2 pages of work, a page and a half just for the nose leg, basically, and nose wheels. Wow. Then you've got the intakes, engine intakes and engine compartment. Again, everything's sort of. It's almost like they've broken it down into the smallest parts they could actually have. Everything is a separate piece. You've got your intake ramps. Those are quite well replicated. The turbofan engine inlet, ducting, and then you've got your main gear position, down position locking mechanism. Look at that locking mechanism. It's got goodness knows how many parts. What's that one? 11 parts there. Oh God. Oh my Lord, this is crazy. It's completely out of control, isn't it? Actually. Yes, I can see why Stuart hasn't actually built this yet. I think you'd have to be. Maybe if you don't sleep at night, it's a good way of, instead of counting sheep, is to build this. And then you've got the main landing gear here. Look at the detail. Even the detail on things like the brake system. Look. Little parts of the brake calipers for the brake system, it looks like, and actuators. Look at that. That is mental. Oh, it's almost going to give you a headache, this, isn't it? I mean, I don't, I like there to be a good number of parts and have good value in a kit, plenty of plastic, but this does seem to be taking it to the extreme. I think that I don't like this faint printing though. Can you see this? If it's looking hard to spot, then you can appreciate it. It's like that. It's very faint. It's saying don't glue, but it can just about make it out. And I've got glasses on. It's very, very hard to read. I think they could have done that much clearer. Anyway, it certainly doesn't lack detail. That's one thing you're not going to complain about. So you've got your weighted wheels, then you've got all the actuators for the main gear legs, and again you've got all these rods and the scissor action of the oleo. Shows the angles they should be at, and then hopefully you've got to the end of that process. And then you've got the bays. I mean, have you ever seen this sort of detail in a bay? I mean, this makes Tamiya or Zokimura look like a basic kit. Anything that makes Zokimura look very basic, something's probably wrong. Look at it. Lord! And there's all these little parts of P parts, and there's... I mean, look at that. Every single component is reproduced. Attaching the central pylons. Come back a bit. Attaching the central pylons. I do wish they'd not gone for this very faint. Look how faint this is. You can barely make it out. It's very strange. I don't know what it is about the Chinese instructions. Why they seem to almost want to make it... It's almost like they're trying to make it stealthy, the instructions. Oh dear. I got your intake, your completed intakes then going underneath. Then you get your vertical stabilisers. They seem fairly straightforward in fairness. Although even they've got some little aerials to go on. Main landing gear base. Oh, it's just amazing. I can't do it justice because there's so much of it and there's no way of knowing what these individual components are. But every hydraulic connector seems to be there, every pipe seems to be replicated, you can see it there. Over here, again, every pipe, every actuator, every union. I mean, it's beautifully detailed, I'll give it that. Look at this. Amazing. And then we've got, what's this? Flaps assembly. And you've got look at this, I mean, is that really necessary? I think this is where it does go a bit over the top. Can you see that? Every little hole and sort of in the flaps, the sort of strengthening points and pivot points in the flap. Every one is a PE piece. Really not necessary, that is it? It's completely over the top. I mean, the trouble is, you're going to spend so much time with PE. You're going to have to buy yourself several tubes of super glue, I think, to glue it all. And again, it's the same on the other flaps as well. But it is fantastically detailed, isn't it? I'm going to be in two minds about whether I like this or not. I don't think it's for me, but I'm not saying that that's not the case for everybody. I think that if you want detail, then you've got it here in spades. And all these pages I'm looking at now, it's page after page, and it's just the flaps. It's just flaps. It's astonishing. I like the way it shows the angles as well. That's quite well done. So you got your actually attaching the flaps now to the wing. You've got the retracted flaps, sorry, the slats they are. At the front it says flaps, but they are slats. And you've got the options to retract the slats, retract the flaps, have them down. Boy, this is absolutely amazing. Look at that. Or if you want to assemble it straight without the flaps down, then you assemble it in the following way, which isn't made terribly clear, actually. It should say that at the beginning, shouldn't it? Retract the flaps. I think they could have made that clearer, because I'm not sure it's entirely necessary to do many pages of work there. So they should have, you know, like Tamiya would do. They give you the option and say, you know, early on they always sort of suggest that you make the choice. And the instructions will say, if you want variant A with everything out, then it's pages 11 to 14. And if you want everything in, it's page 15 to 16, and stuff like that. But here, they're not really guiding you very much. It's just sort of blundering from one very detailed list of guidance, if you like, or instructions to another, without any overall clarity about, you know, what your options are. Extend the flaps, retract the flaps, okay. Wing assembly left, and again, little tiny PE pieces going on top of the wings as well. Oh Lord. So much of it, isn't there? I mean, even somebody who's a fast model builder is going to take months to build this, I think. You're not going to do this in a week or two, or a month even. It's like it's endless. They have detailed the life out of it. Glare shield and hood. Cool. Look at that. Then you've got either the extended or the retracted refueling probe. Attaching the canopy. Oh, it's one of these canopies that's got a framework around it. Ooh, okay. It could be tricky. Yes, it's got an inner frame. That looks fiddly, doesn't it? This is a bit like the Great Wall Hobby Tomcat F14. And again, framework around the front of the windscreen as well. Oof, so much detail. Attaching the canopy if you want it closed. And you have to have a slightly different approach for the closed version. The wing fold assembly, this is where there is an infinite amount of detail. Look at this. Again, this is just to show you the end of the open wing where it folds. Look at all the PE parts that are going to go on here for detail. Absolutely amazing. Crazy. Lord. Yep, shows the pivot mechanism, or hinge mechanism if you like. And then you've got the horizontal stabilisers going in. Folded horizontal stabiliser. I think they mean folded wing. Do they? Folded horizontal stabiliser. No, perhaps not. Perhaps it is the horizontal stabiliser. Again, it's not terribly clear. Got some fairly poor quality printing here, I think. It's just gone. It's starting to look a bit like a bad photocopy in places. That's all. And then we've got the nozzles. Now we have got some aftermarket. I've been interested to see what they're like, the actual plastic, because the aftermarket ones I've seen, they are quite nice. We'll see those in a minute. And then you've got the closed nozzles or open nozzles options. And you've got your top and bottom fuselage coming together. Of course, this aircraft has canards, doesn't it? Which I'd forgotten actually. So it's got canards and it's got these folding horizontal stabilisers. Shows the landing gear going in here. And of course you've got your flaps being shown down. Movable. This is all the options of movable leading edge now we're talking about. So this is the leading edge of the left wing and right wing. The central tail boom, which of course has all the electric countermeasures in it, and then you've got the options of which version are you going to put in here. You've got your you're going to have your arrestor hook. Have we put that in already? Where's the arrestor hook? I missed that. There's a cover for the arrestor hook there. I didn't spot. We built that already. It must have been so complicated I must have flashed past it, not even noticed. I don't know where that was, to be honest. It's just lost, it's completely thrown me, that has. Did I miss that earlier? It wasn't labelled as such, that's probably why I missed it. Did we do that already? Rest of hook? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Anyway, shows it. I think you could actually miss things here if you're shuttling back and forth when you're trying to avoid certain options, like having the wings out or folded or whatever. It's very easy to miss some of the other things that they're trying to convey, which are not terribly clear. The diagrams are good. They're just not bold enough. They're just too faint. They're not helpful on the eye at all, I don't think. So here you've got your landing gear covers, doors. There you can see the image of the folded horizontal stabilisers in the folded position. Ejection seat nose going in here. Boarding ladder, which looks like, I think it might be PE. That looks quite good actually. Again, look how faint it is. Why have they printed it so faint? It's crackers. And then you've got your air-to-air missile pylons, and there's quite a lot of these, of course. Inside the missile itself. Inside the missile. So this is the tailpipe and the front cone. So you're building up the missiles like so. It doesn't say which missile it is. It's KH-41. It says it later. It says it halfway through the process, oddly. Okay, so there it is. They're quite a nasty weapon, aren't they, as we've seen. And they've got front view and rear view, which is good. Makes it nice and clear. You've got all your little sensors on the front, which looks like the PE parts, I think. And then you've got all your pylons going in underneath. And then we get to the final loadout. If you've got this far, then you're a genius in my view, because it's very headache-inducing. I think this instructions is not the clearest in terms of the way it directs you or the actual images. Anyway, then we've got the final paint job, which we won't dwell upon. Yes. I'll just conveniently put my thumb over there. There we go. And there you go. So you get the idea. Right, so I won't do on that anymore because I think we've come to the end of that. I'm really interested in the plastic rather than the politics. Let's have a look. I like the concept of the model. Look at the stencils, actually. There are millions of them. How many are there? 240. Oh, this is like a phantom. There's a lot. 240 got up to there. 260. It's about 300 stencils. There really are. I'm not exaggerating. There's best part of 300 stencils. In fact, there may be more because you've got them all on the weapons as well. I reckon there's 350 stencils easy there. I feel like I need a drink, and it's early in the day when I film this, so I can't have a drink. It's a bit early for that, but I darn well need it. Well, we won't look at the decals. Let's have a look at the stencils instead, which I said there was a lot of. By God, I wasn't kidding. Oh, look at this lot. Oh Lord, check it out. So here's your stencils. Well, about half of them in fact. They are A, tiny, and B, many stencils. That's going to keep you busy for weeks stenciling this up. And then there's the one with the weapons, another stencil set. It's not just the weapons either. I think it's got the intakes. Yeah, it's got the general stencils here. Intakes, arrestor hook, danger, etc, etc. Just so much. That is absolutely crazy. Anyway, those of you that are familiar with F4 Phantoms will be very experienced and ready for a challenge like this, I'm sure. But that is just mental, really, isn't it? Crazy. Let's look at the plastic, because that's really what we're here for, I think, today. I think we just want to see, almost like a demonstration of what Minibase is about. That's really why I wanted to see it. So I'm going to start with this rather intriguing piece here, which I think, I don't know if it's, I think it might be the pilot. Ooh. Yes, it is in fact the pilot, which is a 3D resin printed pilot. Check this out. Oh, I didn't realise that. Okay. Well, that's a very, very fine pilot, it's got to be said. Look at that. Look at the detail here. It's a bit orange, isn't it? But yes, indeed. That's nice, isn't it? Yeah, that's a little bit better than your Airfix pilots, isn't it? Do I get the sense there, you're probably getting a better image than I can see with my own eyes, I get the sense that there's a little bit of clean up to be done just around the left of the mask there. See it? Yeah. Nice though. Yeah, I think you'd struggle to get injection moulding to match that. As I say, it's a bit better than the Airfix figures, like the Gannet. Why? What were they thinking of? Anyway, we won't dwell on that. Very, very nice indeed. Very, very nice. He says he can't get it back in. There we go. It's crossways. How strange. Does it? No, it doesn't. It can't do. It does. It fits in. It's a very tight fit. Who came up with that idea? Very nice. Right, now then. I think I'll just show you this. We'll not open them up properly yet. I just want to show you that this is the optional set which they produce. Zoom in. And it's the 3D printed parts upgrade set. Now then. Again, the Chinese seem to have this thing about trying to print everything as small as possible, but that is a very intriguing little pack. So we've got rather a nice plastic box, like a carton. Some beautiful parts in it. Look at this. Now I'll get into that in a second, because I think it's important we see the actual parts, the normal kit parts first. So I'm just going to pop that to the side for now, and we will come back to it. We've also got some rather impressive instructions, I think, which are in colour, which are always helpful. But in the meantime, let me just set up my desk so we can start to actually view these parts. I'm going to put my trusty board over there. You just bear with me 1 second, and we will have a jolly good look at what we got here today. Because it's very nice of Stuart to send this. It's quite an expensive kit, quite valuable. Good of him to let us see it. So let's have a butcher's at these parts, and we seem to have resealable bags. So, yes, they are. Which is always good. That's one thing that the Chinese tend to do, which I do like. It's very similar to ICM in the Ukraine. They do it, don't they, as well. So let's have a look at what we've got here then. So we're starting off with what would appear to be our intake set and the big missile. Wow, look at that, slide moulded missile. That's nice. So this is the body of the big missile. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that nice? Slide moulded, completely in a complete tube, so you don't have any silly joins. That will look cool. Yes, we like that. Then we have our intakes, main engine intakes. And I've got to say, Minibase's moulding does look impressive. It does. Look at that. Some beautiful detail there. The panel lines and the actual hatches and the riveting is absolutely superb. That is really nice. You've got to be a little bit careful with the endings because they're very sharp. You don't want to bend them, drop it or anything. Very sharply done. That's beautiful moulding. Yes, I'm very impressed with that. And there's the second one here, the other side. Yeah. Yeah, there's ejector pin marks, but I don't think they're where you're going to see them. A little bit of flash on the end of that sharp bit, isn't there? Or has it been bent? No, it's a bit of flash, I think. Can you see that? Just at the end, yeah. But yeah, the actual sort of engraving and everything, beautiful. It's very finessed, isn't it? Very, very nicely moulded. Oh, there's another part here. What's that? There's a little piece here that is. I'm not sure what that is actually. No, I think it's a piece that must have fallen off the other piece on the other side of the missile. Which I think has fallen off. I think it actually, you'll see about where it was moulded in there. Anyway, we won't worry about that. It looks fine. So that's all very good, I would say. Yeah, just a tiniest bit of flash there. That could have been just a little bit blunted in transit, I don't know. Excuse me. Let's put that away. And we will proceed. So that's that one. Whoops. I haven't done that terribly well, if I'm honest. There we go. Right, that's that one done. Next we've got the clear parts, which are quite big, of course, because it has a big canopy on this aircraft. And here we go. Now there is a centre seam down the centre of the canopy, which I'm a little bit disappointed with, but the quality other than that is beautiful. Absolutely crisp, crystal clear. There's a little bit of distortion, especially in the middle actually, where that seam is. You see the seam? Seam line? Same over here. Seam line down the centre, there it is. Just see it. But the quality and the clarity and the sort of crispness of the clear part is very, very good, in fairness. Look at the riveting detail on the windscreen base where it meets the fuselage. You have to be a bit careful when you're gluing this, of course, because they haven't been clever about it in the way that someone like Tamiya does. You know, and they mould in that surround in front of the windscreen. They have this scheme now where they have the entire panel that's in front of the glass, and they mould it all as one, and then you just mask it off, and you can therefore glue the panel in, and you don't get any glue anywhere near the glass. So it's really a big advantage. Very nice, like it. I think you just have to polish out that centre seam though, which we discussed before, like I did on my F-15 Strike Eagle. It's not that difficult actually, you just got to have a look at a couple of tutorials on YouTube first. Right, that's the plastic, clear plastic. Now let's have a look at this. And it does remind me of Great Wall Hobby, the way they've gone about it. I think that's very synonymous with their style, isn't it? We've got a piece of card here to protect it, get its strength. And then we've got some interesting parts, and I have to say the moulding quality is superb. So, you can see here you've got again some really nice fine detail in these hatches and things, access hatches on the nose. And it's clearly a slide moulded part. So all you've got to do is just carefully remove this from its sprue and do a nice gentle bit of clean up, and you will get yourself a nice clean nose, so to speak. And then also over here we've got that tail cone which flips up, which is the countermeasures pod at the back. Then we've got some of the flaps and slats detail, and we've got some of these here we've got the wheel hubs with the brakes, which are very nicely rendered, aren't they? Some absolutely beautiful moulding. There's no flash here either. We've got what looks like the nose leg, which is there. And there are many components of it. You've got your instrumentation, the cockpit. So there are a couple of different variants, actually, 2 options there. It's very nice, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with that. Quite a nice sprue, and I like the presentation of it. What we're going to see now, of course, as we get into this, is going to be more and more parts that I won't know what they are, because they're so small you can't actually recognise them as anything, because they're a part of something else. And this is the problem with the very high part count, of course. I mean, 771 parts. It must be, surely that's a record, isn't it? Something like this. I can't think of anything that comes even remotely close on a 48 scale jet model. I mean, it's pretty much almost knocking on the door of 800 parts when you've got that extra set in it, you know. Wild. So, let's have a look at some of the bigger stuff. We've got the top and bottom fuselage here. This is going to be, oops, this is going to look like something, oops, look at that. And again, it's very, as I mentioned, Great Wall Hobby, it's very like Great Wall Hobby to look at in many ways. They have got a sort of similar sort of fine engraving. Clear parts, it must make sure that it's part of the clear part. Sorry, I just wondering which piece of card it was then. Now look at this. That is really fine. Oh yes. They've really moulded this beautifully. Look at the detail, look at the hinge detail on the end of the wing where it folds. Look at that. You have to be careful not to break this off, of course. It's remarkable. Wow. And then you've got, again, you've got more sort of vents and little access panels. Incredible. Very, very nice. And then you've got your, these are the canards here. And here. And you've got your gear doors, but it's big old pieces that. It's got really chunky sort of connectors, like sockets for it to, top and bottom to join together. So with that, I'm now going to, I think it would be very appropriate to just very quickly pop out this bottom piece as well and put them together. Not with glue, Stuart, don't worry. Don't panic. Oops. Come on, do it. Oh, it's come off, didn't it? Right, there we go. So you can see what I was saying about these sort of sockets. You can see how it goes together, can't you, here? So you've got these big sockets, top and bottom, that... Do they get cut off, in fact? I'm quite sure now, actually. No, they actually... No, they do, in fact, very cleverly. They have these little... So you've got a socket here, and you've got a little pins here. Pin. 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 And those go into the sockets on the corresponding socket on the other side. So it should give you a really nice fit, actually. It should be quite a nice fit. Look at that. Anyway, let's have a look at this bottom then, on the side. Again, you've got this wonderful detail of the hinge, the folding wing. Look at that. Isn't that nice? And some really stellar detail running down to the back of the fuselage. You've got your gear doors. It's a big plane, isn't it? It's a huge aircraft, really. For a fighter jet, it's pretty meaty. And then you got this is your folding horizontal stabilizers, which fold up, and this is the other side of it where it actually has the indents for the pivots. See that? It's nice, isn't it? It's done that quite well. Same on this side. Yeah, I like it. That's superb. You've got speed brake there, air brake. Right, okay, I'll pop that back in there as quick as we can. He says. We learned how to do this, didn't we? There is a knack to this. Somebody taught me this a few weeks back, didn't they? And said, don't mess about, just hold it back on itself and you'll find it's really easy to pop it in the bag. Famous last words. It does actually go in quite well when you do that. There we go. And then you just fold it over. Works every time, I was assured. Right. Okay. The trick is get it pelted back nice and early, pop it in like so. Almost like a factory worker, I'm getting so good at it now. I've been getting job offers from China. There they go. Weapons. There we go. We've got the tail cone as well here. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, it's the nose cone of the weapon. Beg your pardon. So you've got the various rockets here. Well, we won't dwell on them too much, but yeah, we've got again slide moulding. Isn't that nice? Very nicely moulded. A lot of tiny parts though. They've really broken it down, haven't they? It's not like Great Wall Hobby where they have a rocket. I think we might see that later though. Where they have a rocket that's all in one slide moulded piece, and you've got these rails running underneath the fuselage. Is that part of the weapon or not? I'm not quite sure. Yeah, you've got the tail cone here. This is part of the nose cone, the tail of the internals of the rocket. All very nicely moulded, aren't they? They're really, really crisp, in fairness. I mean, Minibase is their moulding looks really fine. You know, it's right up there with the Zerky Mauritania standard, really, and Great Wall Hobby for that matter. It's pretty impressive, has to be said. It's just this parts breakdown that I have a big question mark over. I mean, I think in terms of the plastic quality, from what we've seen so far, it's clearly going to get a good rating from me. What the overall rating will be is another matter. Whether you really want to have every component broken down into such individual tiny pieces. This is a very strange choice, isn't it? A very strange choice. So here we go. This to the desk. It's out nice and easy. There we go. Like so. Now here we've got the vertical stabilisers, and they've done these beautifully. Look at this. Oh, look at the detail here. My goodness. Oh boy. Look at that. That is really nice. It's so crisp, isn't it? But you see what I mean about parts breakdown. Look at the instrumentation switches in the cockpit. That's fine. But then here you've got your cockpit canopy, I should say, framework. You've got several dimensions of framework going on there. You've got the rear the rear frame here. You know, they've even broken down into little sections for no apparent reason. The trunking for the actual engine intakes, I'm not sure that was necessary. A little bit OTT, isn't it? It's just I think it's breaking down into a huge part count almost for bragging rights. Doesn't seem entirely necessary, but it's a beautiful sprue. And oh, okay, flick it onto the other side. You can see the way they've broken this down. Instead of moulding it as one, they've broken that down as well with an insert, which beautifully done, but I'm sure it's strictly necessary. Same on this. And you've got your big air brake here. Absolutely gorgeous. There's certainly nothing wrong with the moulding, it's just this strange design choice that they made. It's almost like, you know, somebody has said, the boss of the company has said, we build highest part count jet fighter model ever in 148. Well, certainly achieved that, I think. I'm sure it's a record anybody else needs to challenge, to be honest. And now we've got the wings, in fact, so here we go. Right, now then, so this is your folding wing, and look at the beautiful finesse of the way the folding mechanism hinge connects. Wow, look at that. Isn't that nice, that mechanism, the little hinges all the way along. So it does have a whole row of tiny hinges. Do you wonder if that's the most efficient way in terms of design? I don't know. You don't see that on American carrier aircraft, do you? They have, you know, they have a bigger, fewer hinges, do you know what I mean? I don't see why they need to go to those extremes. And on the other side you've got it again here. Over on this side, hinges all the way along the inner edge for it to fold up. Then you've got some beautiful detail here on your, is that the, I think that is in fact the rudder, isn't it? Or is it? No, it isn't. No, it's the flaps, in fact. And then you've got a whole lot of, a lot of parts, as Cilla Black would have said. All little bits of, I'm not sure what they are really. Obviously you've got the end of the exposed end. We talked about this in the instructions. You've got the exposed end there of where the wing is, the inner wing is exposed when it folds up, and there's all those little PE parts have got to go on there. Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with the plastic or the moulding quality, it's absolutely fantastic. And I should introduce you at this point to the alternative part, which is one of the alternative parts from the the resin set, the 3D printed resin set. So the same part we've just been discussing, here's the resin version. Yeah. And you see the finesse of it, just being that bit sharper. Put them side by side, you'll probably see what I mean. So what we're looking at is, whoops, he says, get it in the right frame, there you go. So we're looking at that part there versus the resin version there. It might be easier if I get my finger out of the way, like that. Can you see it? I mean, there is definitely a much greater sharpness. Look at the wiring connectors. That's not included on the plastic version. Can you see that at either end? That is really remarkable, isn't it? Wow. You can't not be impressed by that. I've got to say that's very, very good. Okay. Pop this back in its bag. Just bear with me one moment. I'll just give you a bit of a green screen. I'll bring you back so you can see what's going on. I've got the birds tweeting. You can tell it's spring, can't you? Listen to that. Tweeting away there. We've actually got a blackbird nest quite close to the garage outside, so that's what you're probably hearing. Well, they sound more like sparrows or tweeters or something. Right, so now I'm going to go to because I've just shown you some of the the resin parts, I think it would be a good idea to go to the nozzles now, and then we can do a comparison with those as well. You can just see how improved upon the plastic versus the resin really is. It's quite impressive to see, I think. So let's have a look. So I think it's just the open nozzles that we've got resin parts on. I'm going to pull one out of this rather nice box. Zoom you in. Here's this very nicely packaged, aren't they? It's almost like, I don't know, something from an assassin's weapon set or something. Look at that. Wow. So this is your... we'll get the standard one out first, and we'll put them side by side and see if we can decide whether it's worth the extra money or not. There we go. So, I've just got the plastic on the sprue, and we have got the... Is that in two different parts there, the way they've done that? Yes, I think it is. It's like an outer and an inner section, isn't there? I mean, on the face of it, there's really no comparison, because it's, sorry, there's really no comparison in a way, because you've got the plastic there on the right, and then you've got the 3D printed resin. But look at the detail on the tips, that sort of fluted, like double wall effect that you've got. See that? Isn't it nice? Obviously it's within its carrier, you can't see all the detail that clearly perhaps. But, yeah, that's actually quite hard to see, but you can see that there's tremendous detail there that you're not really going to get from the standard plastic, as good as it is. You know, that sort of double walling effect, you're not getting it the same there, are you? And then you've also got the closed nozzles when it goes to afterburner at takeoff. There. And then here you've got those inserts for the actual vertical stabiliser itself. There. We've got one part that's trying to escape. Is that the... it's the arrestor hook. It's the arrestor hook. It's trying to escape from the sprue. It wasn't me, Stuart, I promise. It's actually coming apart, you see. Look. Well, that's the arrestor hook itself. Quite a big heavy duty thing, isn't it? Wow. I actually missed that in the instructions when I went back to look at it. I just couldn't spot it. And then over here we've got our wheels and tyres. We've got the fans, obviously. They're very detailed though, the wheels and tyres. The tyres look really good, don't they? Look at that. Those are very nicely done. Yeah, I like it for sure. So that's that. There's two sprues actually that's the same. Yes, two identical sprues. So those two are the same from that bag. Okay, so I'll zoom you back for this one, and we'll just pop that back in its little bag. He says. Famous last words. It's the two arrestor hooks then. Yes, there is. They give you two arrestor hooks. I think that's just for ease of manufacturing. You don't actually need to. It's just easy not to have a separate design of sprue. So, return that to its bag. I wonder if I'd be better. I'd be better putting these together the other way. Hang on a second. Exercise in packaging, here we go. That'd be better with less interference. Yes, that works better. It certainly does. Very nice. Nice that, very nice. Now then, getting towards the... We're getting there. We've got some photo etch. I won't open the bag, it wouldn't be fair on Stuart, I don't need to really. But there is a lot of tiny photo etch here. Look at this lot. Have you ever seen so much? Good lord. My god, look at this. It's not Wing Up Wings, is it, where you get like 4 pieces? God. Ah. Yes, there's a lot. That is a proper volume of photo etch there. And you've also got a nice looking, like a metal turned pitot head there at the front. It's nice. And there's also a mask set which is included, which is nice, which is on the yellow in the background here. See back a bit, I think, for this. There you go. Mask set, photo etch set. Very nice. And then we have got our horizontal stabilizers. Which I'm just trying to find my way into. There we go. And that's the tail cone at the back we spoke of. Retracting tail cone. And here you've got these, this is the inboard end of the horizontal stabilizers that pivot there, like so. Obviously your outboard sections which fold up, and obviously that's where the actual folder pivot hinge goes. And then we've got a couple of flaps. It's the flaps, yes, or maybe the outer ailerons actually. But those are very nicely done. And as I say, there's this tail cone, which is the avionics, and does it have a parachute as well? It may have a parachute dispenser built into that. It may flip up and a parachute may pop out as well, I'm not sure. Some of you in the comments or watching live will know more about these aircraft than I do. It's inevitable. There is always somebody pops up and corrects me, rightly so, when I start rambling and get it wrong. I don't mind that at all, as long as you're not rude about it. I'm frequently educated by my viewers, which is not a bad thing. It's a two-way process, you see. Two-way process. Right, okay. There we go. So you see that one. And then we've got some, this is where it gets a bit, I think this is where this kit gets a bit nauseating, because we're going to have parts here that I'm going to struggle to describe for you, because these are the sort of couple of bags of sprues where it looks like there are parts for parts sake almost. This is sprue J and K, and these look like, this is where they've gone a bit OTT, just check this out. I'm not even going to begin to tell you what they are, because I don't even know, because there are so many fine parts here, it's going to be hard to follow quite a lot of it. But I mean, look at the size of them. Look at the size of these parts, they are tiny, absolutely minute. Lord. You've got to cut them off, the trouble is you've got to cut them off the sprue, you've got to clean them up from the sprue contact point, where it meets the sprue gate. It's quite a lot of work. And it does feel a bit gratuitously unnecessary, doesn't it, this? So, I mean, they really are tiny, aren't they? And then this is one, and this is the next one, which is J, sprue J. We've got more of the same. Look at this. Again, look at the size of some of these parts. They're absolutely, I mean, the carpet monster is going to have a field day here, because you're going to be dropping these, one or two of these you're going to drop, never to be seen again. It's almost guaranteed. You need to have a system where you cannot flick it across the room, so you need side cutters, sprue cutters, nippers to stop you from, you definitely want to invest in some of those. But I mean, even at full zoom I can't get these any closer for you, because they're so minute. And some of those are like 2mm by a millimetre or something. It's crazy. I've never seen such small parts. I mean, look at them over here. What's that? It's crazy, crazy, crazy parts. What the hell are they thinking of with this lot, eh? I don't know. Madness. Insanity. I mean, you could laugh about it now, but when you're actually building it, I think you find it quite frustrating. If you're working with parts that small, think even the shipbuilders amongst us are used to very fine fiddly parts. I think even you're going to get driven around the bend by this. Really? And here's another one. This has got parts of the ejection seat in it this time. It's quite hard to take it seriously. It's almost like a mission to try and drive you mad, isn't it? Look at this. Oh no, more. These are actually slightly bigger pieces. Only slightly, but they're not quite as minute as the ones we just saw on that other. This is sprue L. And obviously you've got a lot of parts here with your ejector seat and things like that. But suddenly my 20 times zoom, which is often a bit of overkill, doesn't seem powerful enough to get in close because these parts are so small. There are so many of them. You see the ejector oops, sorry, got the one wrong way then. The pull handles there. Pull handle for the ejector seat over the pilot's head, I think. Oh my goodness. Okay. Zoom you back, and we're on the final straight almost of this, because we've just got 2 bags left only. Come on, there you go. Good. That's it. I mean, the way they bagged everything there, it's all been very well packaged, I've got to say. It's excellent in that respect. Very light Great Wall hobby. And then we've got 2 here that's the same. And this is a lot of this fine detailing. Now this is good because they've actually moulded it in, not tried to make it a separate part. So this is some of the base of the wing roots and places like that. And you've got some really nice detail there. You see sort of wiring looms and unions and things, connectors. And then some beautiful moulding here. Really nice moulding, isn't it? That little vent, beautifully done. And again over here you've got another wiring loom here, look, which has been superbly moulded. Remarkable. I mean, the moulding finesse is just one of the best ever, really, I think, in that respect. So I think I'm going to be a bit conflicted at the end of this, because I think the moulding I'm so blown away by, but the sheer unnecessary, quite crassly over the top number of parts count is just, you know, it's taken it to the extreme, really, almost just for fun. It feels like it's a wind-up. But there's nothing wrong with the quality of the parts. They look absolutely amazing. It's quite a nice feel to the plastic. It feels a bit like Saviar. Maybe Great Wall Hobby again. Yeah. Now finally we've got 2 lots here. We've got 2 lots, and this is all your pylons basically. Pylons for your weapons. We haven't quite finished because we haven't got to the weapons yet, and that's something I think we're looking forward to. So here are the pylons. There's 2 of these that are completely identical, and again some good detail here. If you look closely, I can get you a bit closer. There we go. Look at that. Nicely done, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with any of this. As good as you'll find anywhere, really. It really is. So that's that, and that really leaves us with the weapons and the additional resin, 3D printed resin set, which I think you're going to enjoy. So I think we'll do that last, which will end on a high, because I think it's going to be pretty impressive stuff. Right. Weapons. This lovely big box. Russian air-to-air missiles. Now this is sealed, so I'll have to open that. Here we go. Oh yes, they've done it the Great Wall Hobby way. They've gone and slide moulded everything. Look at this. Ooh, this is nice, isn't it? Oh, it just popped out. Okay. Let me gently turn that back. Oh yes, they've done this slide moulding. Now this is an interesting point to make here, because Great Wall Hobby have done this in the past with their flankers, and then strangely on their new F-14 Tomcat they went back to having a zillion pieces to make up a simple missile instead of slide moulding it like this, which is much preferable, I think. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Isn't that beautiful? That's very nicely done. And then we've got these are the big air-to-air missiles. Tell me, yeah, these are the R27R, two of them. Look at that. So this is very much. I don't know whether these guys are associated with Great Wall Hobby, but I'm starting to think they are, because it's so similar to what they've done. It's almost more than a copy. It's almost like it's the same manufacturer or injection moulder that's doing it the same way. It's too similar to be just a coincidence or just a copy, I think. And they're beautiful. They're really nice, aren't they? It's all done for you. That's a complete missile with all the detail already moulded into it. Then we've got some. I think we've seen that one. Then there is a third style. Or is that it? No, there's just more of the same. So there's just more of those missiles, in fact. But we're not quite done yet, because there is another box. Now those were nice, weren't they? That has got them a lot of extra points, I think. That's going to get them a bit of a bonus, a Brucey bonus. Very nice. I'll put some tape on that to reseal it. I think I might have to, because there's no spare space in the box. It has to be put back as it was, really. So now we've got these big missiles, the R27. Is it just more of those? Slightly different style, isn't it? The R27s. R27ET, slightly different version of it. And there's 4 of them in the box, so they're all the same as the one that's in my hand. And again, I'm getting really close on this, I hope we can. Look at the detail even between the fins that there is. Can you make this out? Look at that. Look at that. Isn't it nice? Fully slide moulded missiles. Look at that. Beautiful. Yeah. I think that's a work of art, frankly. A work of art. Absolutely gorgeous. Fantastic. Beautiful moulding. And saves you many. There's a bit of an irony though, isn't there? So this saves you a dozen hours building all these missiles up, and then they've got, you know, 771 despite having slide moulded missiles. Think about it in context. Wow! It makes you realise how many parts there are in all the rest of the kit. It makes it seem a bit ironic, really, because they've gone for a solution that means you don't have to do as much work with a perfect result there. And then they've gone and done the exact opposite in the rest of the kit. However, right, so finally, just put that over there and pop that in here. I am just going to, if you just bear with me one moment while I just put this back up here. And I'm going to just try and put it back in the box, which may be a challenge for another day, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure we'll have the time to do that right now, but I'll just reduce it a bit, if you'd allow me. And then we'll have a look at these lovely resin parts, which I think are going to be rather nice. That doesn't work, does it? This is going to be a jack-in-a-box kit where I can't get it back in, I know it is. I might have to send it back to Stuart in several different deliveries. over a week or something. Right, anyway, we won't worry about that. Let's just pop that there. Right, so the resin parts then. Let's just move that again. It's in the way. Let's have a look at the resin instructions, because I thought that they looked rather nice. And they are indeed. So here we go. Oh my goodness, it's good, this. This is good. I like this. This is much nicer than the instruction booklet. Look at the clarity of the way they presented this. Easy on the eye, very clear what they're trying to communicate. They're showing you which parts are the kit and which parts you need to cut off. So the bits in orange is the framework, the lattice work from the actual 3D printing. As you can clearly see there, and those are the bits you need to remove. And it's a nice way of representing what is a bit confusing on the eye when it's all the same colour. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So those parts here are those orange parts on the engines you remove, which I didn't fully appreciate. Yes, okay. Oh yes. So all that comes out as well. Wow. Goodness me. Sorry, just looking at this. Gosh. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice? And then on the other side, what they do is giving you like tell you which parts of the kit then have to. I mean, look how complex it is, though. Lord, see what I mean, can't you? Which parts of the kit is actually then stuck onto these resin parts? All the little tiny plates and the lights and the pivots and you know, on it goes. So you know they're going to put that out very, very clearly. So let's just pull out. This is actually this I believe. Oh, it just fell out. Where did that come from? That's part. It's okay. It's not broken or anything. It's just part of the. It's just part of the 3D mould that's just parted company. It's actually one of the finished parts. So look at this. Look at that 3D printed resin. And it was actually sitting in here, just there. It's just parted company, which is probably no bad thing. Sitting there for. So this is the leg. I think this is the nose leg, in fact, that I've got in my hand. Pretty sure it is. And again, you can see all these little parts of the matrix, so to speak, where you're going to cut it off. All these fine parts, but it's very good that they've given you that guide, because it is a little bit confusing, especially when you have all these fine bits of hydraulic lines and things, which are supposed to be there. I don't know if you can make that out through this shot. If you look carefully, you see this hydraulic line that you don't cut off. And then there's parts that look kind of similar that are actually part of the matrix that attach it to the 3D printing outer case, shall we call it, outer framework. But isn't that beautiful? They're remarkable, aren't they? They really are. So that's the nose leg. Then we've got the main gear. I'll just pull one out. Try to preserve it as much as possible. And then we've got one of the main landing gear legs in the middle. Does it say which side it is? Right. It actually says right landing gear. Wow. And again, see what I mean? You can see there's some wiring that you don't want to cut off. And then there's the matrix, which looks not dissimilar in some respects, which you do want to cut off. So you've got to be a bit careful and take your time, I think, when you're taking this off its mounting outer frame, shall we call it. Take your time, because you don't want to be rushing and cutting through parts that are in fact supposed to be there. And there's a real risk of that with something like these landing gear legs. Most of the bits that you can see close to the camera there, bottom right, it's sort of 5-6 o'clock, they're not supposed to be there, but there's a lot of other parts that are. So you've got to be very careful where they join. Amazing. So, also we've got another piece, several parts in here. It includes like a metal rod. I think that might be, is that a strengthening rod? We've got a little part there which looks very nice. Another 3D print. Get into it. See, it's going to be a challenge. Another 3D printed part. And here it is. Again, not quite sure what that is without referring to the instructions, but look at the fineness of the detail. Okay, they are in fact the like the scraper, sort of mud clearer that goes at the front of, next to the tyre on each wheel. These Soviet aircraft had. See that? Shows it here, look. It shows it here. And here. Goes there. That's it. And then, as I said earlier, just this this beautiful the wing root where it folds. Isn't that nice? Absolutely fantastic, aren't they? So, where am I with this then? That resin set is very, very beautiful, as they often are, I have to say. They're often really superb, aren't they? I'm going to pop that back in there. It's safe. Some very fine parts, aren't there? Well, I've never seen a kit with so many parts relative to its size. Oops, sorry, that goes in there. I've got this in the wrong bag. There we go. It's there, it's there, that. And it all folds back in very, very neatly indeed. And I don't know what that costs, that extra set, but I think it's probably worth it. It's probably worth it. It's back in its outer box. Very nice set that is, lovely. So that's not included. I'm guessing that's probably about £25 to £30 at least, because it's not a cheap kit. Excuse me. It's about £150 for this kit, so it's not a cheap thing at all. Not a cheap thing. Quite a pricey affair, you might say. And there is absolutely no way I'm going to get that back in there. I'm going to spend an afternoon trying to rebox this. Anyway, what do I think of it? So, I think in terms of the moulding quality and the moulding technology, it's right up there with some of the best kits I've ever seen. It's actually better than I thought it was going to be, if I'm honest. The moulding quality is more finessed and finer than I thought it would be. I thought it would be good, but it's better than ICM, and I thought it would be about ICM quality. And that's saying something, because ICM I think are very, very excellent these days, but this has gone to a sort of Tamiya / Great Wall hobby level. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is in terms of, rivet counting or whatever. But I think it's flawless. The finish is flawless. The moulding is flawless. It's just got too many parts, yeah? Way too many. I mean, that needs about 200 parts less, doesn't it? Honestly, and especially when you saw those final few sprues I showed you. With parts no bigger than a pinhead, absolutely scary. Handling those, just handling them and not losing them and not having them fly off, is going to be an absolute challenge. Some of the smallest parts I've ever seen in injection moulded plastic. So it's going to lose a point, at least a point for that. So I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. It would have been, frankly, in some respects, it would be 10 out of 10. The presentation is so nice. The packaging is great. It's a bit pricey though, and those parts really, I think it loses a quarter to half on its price, and it certainly loses a half on its ridiculously over the top part count, But I tell you something, if you wanted to have an experience where you really immerse yourself in almost building a miniature version of the real thing, then that's the one, isn't it, if you want a flanker. So there you go. Sea flanker in this case, of course. Thank you very much to Stuart for loaning us this kit, because I'm actually quite impressed with it. I'd like to see them do more kits. I'd like to see them bring out more. Whether that's for you though, and you know, I would say to them, just go easy with the part count, because 771. Call it 800 parts with all the extras. That's crazy. 800 parts is completely ridiculous, you know. I mean, I said 200 less, I think 300 less. About 500 parts is all that needs, really. I mean, the Great Wall Hobby Flanker I've got, I think that's got about 480 parts, 500 parts, something like that. It's about right. And that's got a lot of detail. But this is completely over the top, isn't it? Gratuitous. But a beautiful kit. Don't let me knock it. It's just, that's not for everybody. You know, that's a lot of people, probably the majority, if I'm honest, are probably going to think that's a bit ridiculous, you know. Do I want to be toiling and fiddling and finding those little tiny parts? You know, this is the opposite of Qatari, isn't it? Qatari have gone a bit the other way. They're moulding in great big chunks of things like the Spitfire's interior, all in a huge panel with lots of fine detail, but all in one piece. This is going the exact opposite, isn't it? Let's make every single piece, every single piece. I mean, that's got a parts breakdown like the real aircraft. Crazy. Well, there we go. You pay your money, you take your choice. I mean, I think you've got the best part of £200 kit there now, because of the extras that Stuart's got here and that. But I mean, by all means, look it up on the internet, you know. But the extras of this 3D resin printed, 3D printed resin upgrade set, that's beautiful, gotta say. I mean, you would still make a nice kit without that, if I'm honest, but it's just the icing on the cake, isn't it? Anyway, thank you to Stuart for showing it to us. I really appreciate it. I'll make sure I get it back in one piece, as usual, all safe and sound. Hope you enjoyed the video, found it interesting. You've just got to decide whether that's for you or not, really. Anyway, I hope you give me a thumbs up with a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, make sure you ding the notification bell and do select the all option to make sure you get notification of all the latest kits that I'm going to be looking at and subjects that you probably find interesting. So, thank you to all those viewers and subscribers. If you've stayed this long, it's quite a long one this was. It was always going to be, wasn't it, with that many parts. But I appreciate it if you stayed to the end. Thank you very much, all of you. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to bring you some more similar things in the very near future. Until then, thank you very much. Stay well, stay safe. Thanks for all your time. Look after yourselves. And I'll see you again very soon. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.